Hi, welcome to
Hey,
Reverend Rich. This is
Reverend Paul.
and we have a special guest today, Michael Tatlock. Well, that's him. This show is only about prayer.
Affirmative prayer.
Ernest Holmes. So what we're going to do first is we're going to do what we always do, which is pray. And Michael, would you pray us in, please?
Sure. So now, right here and right now, that there's one power, one presence, one beingness that flows through us and is us. And as I know that I am, excuse me, the living embodiment of that divine creative spark, I know that each and every one of us gathered here today is also the living embodiment of the divine creative spark. And through that loving, gentle, nudging, beauteous energy that pushes us forward and asks us to expand and explore beyond ourselves. I know that today the conversation that unfolds is easy and effortless and joyous and fun filled and possibly illuminating. And I give great thanks for that, for the opportunity to be here, to have the discussion, and to expand and explore my concept and beingness of spirit. So, with a grateful heart, I just release this into the action of law, knowing that it's whole, complete, perfect, and done. And all I have to say is, and so it
And so
is.
it is.
So it is. Awesome, Michael.
Perfect. Thank you.
Well, let me give a quick overview about Michael, and then he can fill in the blanks. He is a
Okay.
CSL practitioner since 2019 and a ministerial intern. Woo! At
An intern?
well, yeah, I mean you've been in there long enough, so I think so.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, because you also have a center, which is Centers for Spiritual Living, Granada Hills, and that's www.cslgh.org. I hope I said that right.
Yes.
Yeah. What's interesting is that Michael has actually been on a few shows. It was interesting. He's been on the Third Rock from the Sun, L.A. Doctors, and other things. He's an actor also. And what's nice is that he's a good friend and he speaks well and does things well. But I'm gonna let you all find out. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Michael, if you would.
Oh, God. So, I wandered into CSL. I took acting classes in the basement of Spirit Works in Burbank in 1999. I moved to LA from Seattle, Washington in 98, and then I wandered into an acting class run by Dee Wallace Stone, who was the mother in E.T., in 99. And I was there for 4.5 years. And so it just sort of filtered down to me going, oh, look, here's something different. And it had a lot of parallels with recovery. I
Mm.
am 35 years clean and sober. And so there came a time when I started a search for a spiritual family. And I sort of remembered um, Spirit Works. So I first attended online. I watched streaming because they
Mm.
streamed their services. And this is interesting. And it was fairly close to where we lived in North Hollywood. So I I went over there and would sort of sit in the live performance, the live service. And I sat way in the back and I just would sit and listen. And slowly I just sort of moved up. And then in sitting closer to the platform. And then I took a class. And then I took another class. Then I took another class. And it just sort of slowly expanded for me.
Mm.
So that's basically how I came to, CSL and Science of Mind and Ernest Holmes and Thomas Troward and Eric Butterworth and, you know, all sorts of people that I've been introduced with. But it was very in alignment with where I was.
Mm.
In from my recovery work and also in the way I approach parts as an actor. And it was Thomas Troward that had an explanation about how you access it, the thing that is.
Mm.
And I was reading it because I was taking the Thomas Troward class because you had to do it for practitioner, right? And so I went, oh, that's what I do. That there, I know what that is. And as an actor, it's sort of like, um, it's called riding the stream, riding the wave.
Mm.
And when you're in that groove, that flow, you just sort of, the only way I can describe it is that for me, it's always been, oh, here, try this over here. You're in a
Mm.
scene and you're present and sharing with the other person, and the scene just sort of takes you in a different way, and you just sort of go, oh,
Sounds like
wow, I
life.
didn't know. Yeah, literally, it just is amazing. I'm sorry, I'm on my third cup of coffee, so I can be verbal for you
That's
all.
okay. We drink coffee on this show. We also this is conversation, so we just kick back and this is unscripted, folks. Hey, I want to also reference your website, your personal website, which is Michael Michael Tatlock Tatlock.com. For those that you want to look up his acting career.
Yeah, you get that's my acting website. So you get all my clips from things like Newsroom and I don't know what out there.
So, Michael, you were saying in acting you were getting in that groove that Thomas Troward talked about. How do you get in
Yeah,
that groove when it comes to prayer?
I just have to open up.
What's
And
that look like?
for me, oddly enough, it's sort of how do I describe this? It's very similar to what I do as an actor, which is sort of like open here above me, knowing that whatever's going to come in is going to come in, and then moving me out of the way.
Mm.
I don't
Like,
I don't know if that makes sense or not, but that's
well, Troy says, "Get your bloated nothingness out of the way after release of prayer."
yeah,
If
I
I'm saying
mean,
that right.
really, thank you for that Emerson quote, but it's
Oh, okay.
really
I said it wrong.
it's really true because um I think I think you just have to get out of your way in order to for you to get in contact with it, because it's always internal for me
Mm.
and it
Hmm.
comes out from there, you know. Um, but there's also, I think, a knowingness that comes with being open to receiving. And
Mm.
maybe that's more accurate. I don't know. I don't know if that made any sense, but it's sort of like just being open to knowing that you know.
Well,
And from that, you just maybe that's where your hook is into the flow. And then from there, you just let it take you to wherever you need to go.
Well, that's perfect. Yeah. Because in our philosophy, it's a knowingness. It's not a wanting, it's not a beseeching, it's knowing. And as you said, once you get your bloated nothingness out, your ego side, allowing spirit who is already you to come through is perfect.
Yeah, there's a great saying in recovery about, ego is an acronym for easing God out.
Mm.
And which I find just delightful, because it's sort of like, oh, okay, yeah, that's really sort of like what it is, because it comes in and it goes, hi, I want to control this issue. I want to control
Mm.
this situation that I find myself in, that I don't know how to do, or I think I don't know how to do, and yet I do know how to do.
Mm.
And so it
I mean, it's a deep
it
subject.
becomes
I mean,
it becomes a matter of trust, I think.
yeah.
Mm.
So I was going to ask you, our next question is, how do you stay grounded? Or actually, let's do this one. How do you start your day out? I mean, I know we have about 5 cups of coffee, some of us.
Yeah. I only actually had three.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Bellingham, I used to only had two.
Oh,
Don't explain that one to me. I don't understand it.
welcome to SoCal.
Right. That's probably it. I have to like really get energetic. How do I actually started out with prayer, and then then I let the dog out so he can pee and poop. And, but then, but even before I get out of bed, I pray. And
Mm.
it's a really simple thing. It's just sort of like I'm opening up to whatever the day is going to bring me.
And what steps do you use
I
in
get out
prayer?
of, pardon me?
What steps do you use in prayer?
I just generally do the five. I never got, this. I know, I remember in prac, we learned about, seven step, where you're sitting there doing hi, I'm going to argue with myself. And that never felt right to me. It was like, why am I going to argue with myself? I do that all the time. Why don't I not do that? And so I always found that the five step, because I'm
Mm.
lazy too. I'm only going to, all I have to do is five steps and get it, clean and done and in and out. Let's do that.
Yeah, and
Actually,
Ernest Holmes said it doesn't matter the steps as long as we can evolve into that oneness of knowing there's something greater than we are. We are part of that, and then we declare what we need.
Yeah, and Holmes never actually did a five-step prayer. They just basically, in order to teach it, to teach the idea around, they the whole thing evolved into the five-step prayer or the seven-step prayer, whatever. But he never used it.
Well, in the book,
He just prayed.
In the book, this thing called Life, there's an 8 step prayer that he does, which is
yeah, we talked
phenomenal.
about that. We won't
He
go into
probably
that,
did a
Paul.
nine-step prayer or a 10-step prayer.
We're praying without ceasing, so every day, every thought is a prayer.
Oh, yeah, it's sort of like, you know, that's a great goal. It's not one that I've yet attained. But I
Yet, I
think,
love
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Well, you don't want to get.
how, you know, living your life as a continuous prayer, it, it's sort of a wonderful goal to have.
Mm.
But how do you know you've attained it, especially when you're driving on the freeways here in Southern California? I'm not the
He's
most I'm not the most spiritual of persons when people are cutting me off or I'm trying to merge.
Yeah, for our folks that aren't from California, there's some real challenging traffic here. You think your area is bad? Oh my! There's a reason why we say that. Hey, how do you stay grounded throughout the day, though? Do you just stay in prayer, or
Like when you're in traffic, how does that prayer come up?
yeah,
Yeah. You know, maybe maybe we are always in prayer, but maybe we just don't recognize that we are. Or maybe
Mm.
we're redirected to be in prayer. Um, usually for me, it's when I'm in the area where it's probably the most opposite of prayer, which is I'm cursing or I'm doing hand gestures or I'm being bitchy, which I can be. And it's those points that I just sit there to go, oh, hmm, okay, take a step back because this isn't what you're wanting to create in your life,
Right.
right? So so it's those moments that are like the opposite. And I'm like, it's really weird because it's this weird delay, and I just go, here's my fingers, and but it's sort of like when you're at that opposite end of where you want to be, that I just sort of go, oh, okay, fine. Like when I'm yelling at the dog or I'm yelling at my husband or I'm doing something like that, that is sort of like, oh yeah, maybe I need to take a step back and look at where I am right now in this moment and ask myself, do I want to be here? And do I want to be acting this way?
Mm.
So, it's progress, not perfection.
I like
Well,
that.
I
well, I
mean,
know that Rich shared with me when he gets in that angst, he goes right to prayer.
Yeah, we've done that a few times where things weren't working out. We're like, you think we're kidding? No, we've gone to prayer a few times because we're like, oh, tech's not doing what we want it to do.
And it
The
always
hammer's not.
works. Yeah.
it's really interesting because, Paul, you and I were talking about Reverend Dr. Andrea Acevedo up in
Mm.
Bellingham. She was my senior minister up in Bellingham. She's also one of my mentors in ministerial school. And she she would do things like, oh, you know, uh, because as an actor, one of the frustrating things is that you do an audition and then you don't hear anything, and then you just sort of go, oh, okay, I guess I didn't get the part, and then you move on. But there's this lag time. And she goes, well, why don't you just pray? And I just sort of went, oh, dude, it was like the newest freaking concept to me. Oh, I could pray myself into the role. Do I
Exactly.
do I do it now? No, I don't. Because weirdly enough, I sort of go, oh, that's cheating. Isn't it weird that I would
How is it cheating?
cheating? I'm all of a sudden I have this advantage that nobody else has.
But everybody has the
Everybody
advantage,
has.
but not everybody knows about it.
Well, that's true, but there's my progress, not perfection.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, you also have to realize too that it wouldn't show up in the first place if you weren't supposed to have it, even in your mind, because that's a
That's
mental
true.
equivalent.
That's true. And
Yeah.
I also know that when I know it's mine to have, I have it.
Mm.
And I know that it was sort of like um, when I was doing when I booked the newsroom, I it was a really quick turnaround for an audition. I was in the middle of a session with a client because I do coaching. Um, so I was in the middle of a session with a client, and I got this audition, and the audition was like an hour and a half from where I was supposed to be. And in LA, depending on where you have to go, you have to drive, and that can usually be up to an hour to get to your audition. So I went, oh, hey, I'm going to have to cut this short, but we can pick it up at a different time. Just let me know what your schedule is. So I cut it short. I pulled off the breakdown and pulled off the script. Thank God it was 3 lines, was all I had to have. And and I knew nothing about the show. I knew nothing about the character. You get a little bit of the breakdown. And so I'm running up and down our townhouse trying to pull my shit together to get out of the house and to the audition. Go to the audition, sitting there, And usually, and this is when they were live, they weren't videotaped as they are now. Um, so I'm sitting in the room with four other people, and I was the last person to audition for this role. So, and I hear the auditions going on in the next room, and it's like this one guy is asking all these questions, and I'm going, dude, it's three lines. It's a joke. Just nail the joke. And, but he's going on and on and on about, well, what's my motivation? What's this? All the actor things. And I'm just sitting there going, oh, okay, I know I can do this because I know what it is. And I didn't have time to think about it. I didn't have time to worry about it. None of that stuff. I went in, I did it. The casting director goes, oh, well, this is Aaron Sorkin. And so can we pick up the pace? I went, did it again, quicker. Okay. Well, this scene is with Jeff Daniels. Let's try it again. Okay. Again, not knowing anything, but just trusting that I
Mm.
knew. So did it the third time. And so the casting director goes, okay, thank you. I, bye bye, see ya. Walk out. I just knew I had to
Mm.
roll. So when you're in that space, Paul, that you're talking about, you just know.
They just know, right?
Yeah, and it's sort of like what Rich, you and I have talked about in ministerial classes and various classes that we've been in. It's sort of like you know the truth.
Mm.
You know the truth for yourself. And what your mind tries to do many times is talk yourself out of the truth that you know.
Mm.
So, what tangible results have you had from prayer?
This house, I mean, not knowing specifically that this was the place, but, you know, moved down from Bellingham, Washington 5 months ago. We were living in a rental and we had this plan. My husband and I had this plan. Okay, we'll wait till this other thing happens up in Bellingham because we still have another property up in Bellingham that and then we'll go look for houses. But initially, we'll just look in neighborhoods to see where we want to be. So we go out like on Sundays and do open houses and stuff like that. And I would just sort of go, I would pray for the perfect and right place to show up. And I had a list of what I wanted, and lo and behold, it appeared. And we saw it, and we went, okay, fine. And then we came back another week, maybe a week or two afterwards, and looked at it again. And by that time, we were sort of like really starting to concentrate on looking to buy because we just sort of went, oh, we could actually do this and not really have to worry because we ran the numbers. And so we called our agent and said, hi, we want to look at this house. Can we look at this house? And our agent pulled it up and he goes, oh, there's an offer on it. Oh, okay, fine. Okay, let's still go back and look at it, and we'll look at these other two houses that we were sort of, sniffing around at. And um, so that was like Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. And then on Monday we went and he calls and he goes, oh, the deal fell through. They pulled out. It's available. So we came, we looked at it again, then we looked at two other houses, and we said, huh, we like this house. So we put the offer in, they took it. It's sort of spirit, working because you just sort of, it's sort of like, the one and done. I think of it as a one and done. When you're doing when you're working the steps of the prayer and you hit that release portion and I was taught that when you release it, it's done. It's
Mm.
already accomplished. And you just have to be open to receiving it. And then the idea is as you receive it up to the point where you feel that, oh, I'm ready for
Mm.
this. I'm not ready for this. I'm ready for this. And you receive it. And that was the way I was taught. And, for the whole thing. So it's sort of like, okay. And in some instances I can let go and just
Mm.
let go and let God, for lack of a better word.
Have you
And then,
felt your prayers have evolved over time?
oh yeah,
And how so?
yeah. For me, it's sort of like I think they become more connected,
Mm.
or I become more connected when I do it, I guess. Instead of just sort of remembering, okay, this step, then this step, then this step, then this step. I think it just becomes more of a flow and more of a connected flow.
Mm.
Mm. Hey, we're at the 3 minute mark, so we need to shotgun questions, Paul. Go, 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 go.
Oh my
So
God.
how would you explain our philosophy to someone viewing this that doesn't understand or know it?
Oh, the elevator pitch, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, elevator pitch. What's your elevator
There
pitch
you
for
go.
someone that doesn't know science of mind?
From an actor.
It's sort of like, well, go back to, change your thinking, change your mind. And then if they sort of go, well, what does that mean? It's sort of like, well, okay. Um, what do you want in your life?
Mm.
What do you want to create in your life? What do you want to bring into your life? What do you want to be? And there's an easy philosophical way that you can sort of like access a power that is greater than yourself. I come at it from probably not a religious point of view, but more of a recovery point of view, because that's where my orientation is. And that's where it makes the most sense to me. And, I use the idea of, oh, okay, on a daily basis, we all have a choice. We're all faced with a choice.
Mm.
And my basic choice initially was, do I have a drink or do I not have a drink? And, it might start minuscule like this and then grow over time, but it's still a choice that I have to make. And you get to make that choice too. And if you have things in your life that you're not liking, well, then choose differently.
Mm.
Make a different choice.
I love that.
That's sort of the easy way
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah, I think of recovery as more of a spiritualness. Like, am I connected with a power for good greater than I am, or do I deny that power? And again, we have a
Well,
choice.
yeah. And I mean, it's sort of like, there's a lot of different phrases and things like, stinking thinking, look where your thinking got you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, which is very, very much, science of mind.
Hmm.
Um, and there was a direct correlation between, Ernest Holmes and Dr. Bob and Bill W.
That's
And
the 12 steps from the what they call the blue book in
Right, the
Alcoholics Anonymous.
founder,
the big
right?
book,
Yeah,
it's called the big book.
yeah.
And
Just for our audience that may not know.
right. And so it's really based in choice. Do I use or do I not use? I have a choice.
Hmm.
And so what is the choice that you're going to make? Well, it's pretty black and white, and then you see how the prior choices that you've made has demonstrated in your life in such a way
Mm.
that has not been not has not had the most accurate or wonderful demonstration in your life.
Hmm.
So I mean, those are the parallels, I
Yeah.
think.
That makes sense. Hey, what's your favorite Ernest Holmes book?
Oh, what my favorite Ernest Holmes book is? It's not one of his books.
Go for it. Let's hear it.
It's the Essential Ernest Holmes, which is all based on him.
Mm.
I just love that book. It's just it's sort of like all these different aspects of Ernest Holmes from all these different Ernest Holmes sources. And you just sort of go, oh, look at that. There was a great thing in Spirit Works, which was the First Church of Religious Science in Burbank, was the 10th teaching chapter. It was it was incorporated in 1943, and they had some of the original binders from their first courses that they had.
Wow.
And that was amazing. They all got sent to the archives in Kansas City now. So,
Mm.
but it
That's
was
wonderful.
great just to flip through those and just sort of go, oh, well, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. And then reading the 1926 version of the big, the
Oh, of
textbook.
Science Mind, right?
Yeah. Where he had this whole thing around, was it? Oh, it was, oh, my brain just went, I have to have coffee now. Um, there was a whole section when around psychic phenomenon and everything like that, and
Mm.
that whole thing, and that's when they put it into. I think when it went to the Library of Congress, it was originally in like occult.
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember reading about that. Hey, what is your favorite Ernest Holmes quote? And then we have one last question, which Paul will ask.
Oh, you know what? I was reading one today because I use
Oh,
365.
yes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
365.
Hmm.
So, where was it? No, I was reading it. Our word, being the presence and power of the activity of God's Spirit, activates the law of mind which cannot fail to operate.
Hmm.
Let us feel that there is something permanent about the word we have spoken. I find, on a daily basis, I find new quotes that I really, really like. And I think it changes over time. And I find that it takes me to a place where I have to sort of remember that it's a bigger thing
Hmm.
happening. And 365 Science of Mind actually sort of like on a daily basis, sort of, impels me forward. I still think, change your thinking, change your life is actually a really, really good thing. I don't think he said that though, did he?
Oh, he did. Way
He
before
did?
I before
Or
Nike
I
took
thought it
it.
was just a marketing kind of thing. I don't know.
Maybe, but we could go with that.
Who
Hey,
knows? Who knows?
our biggest question we have, and our last question is, what is the takeaway that you would want our audience to take from you? What would you tell them about this? What's the takeaway you give somebody on this show? Everything you talked about.
You know, I think it's I think it's okay that you don't have to do this by yourself.
Mm.
And that there's a power greater than yourself
Mm.
that is always available to you to be able to help you achieve. what you want in your life and how you want to create it. And there is a prescriptive process, which he calls affirmative prayer, that is a tool to aid you in that. And it's a simple process and it's a positive process. And it's not, you're not necessarily beseeching anybody or begging for, something greater. I think it's the ability that you're able to create your life here and now and create your own personal heaven on earth rather than having to wait for it to happen
Mm.
at a distance.
Awesome. Well, we're going to do the plug and then we're going to do the pray out. I'm Reverend Rich at prayersradio.com. This is
Reverend Paul at IamSpiritAlive.com.
And we have Michael Tatlock today, and he can be reached at, he's at Centers for Spiritual Living, Granada Hills, cslgh.org. And his personal website is michaeltatlock.com. Check earlier for the spelling.
Hey, thank you, Michael. This has been amazing.
Oh, thank you. This has been fun. I'm glad I was able to caffeinate for you all.
Yeah, and can you honor us with a pray out?
Sure, I will. Okay, knowing that the time that we have spent today just talking, just batting the conversation back and forth has been truly inspired because there's one power and one presence that has aided us in this conversation. And as we had all gathered together to have a fabulous time talking about prayer, I know that as our time is concluded, it is complete. And it is also really, really good and rich, as in Rich, and as in Paul, and as in Michael, because we're all God. And as the fabulous Reverend Dr. Bob Dean said, it's all good because it's all God. And so it is.
And
So it
so it
is. Yep.
is.
It's funny. We had Bob Dean on here.
I know, I love him.
I love him too. He's great. Well, let's go ahead and do the thing and then join us on our after hour. And if you like the show, please click like and subscribe on all the 19 different platforms that we're on right now. So everybody say bye.
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 Your